First of all, nominalization. What is nominalization? So we're going to be covering actually two different things today. First, we're going to be covering simply nominalization, what it is, how it's used, and then we're going to be covering also these individual forms, what they're used for outside of just nominalization. Nominalization comes from the word nom, which is Latin, I believe, for name. That's where the word noun also comes from. A name of a person, a name of a place, or a name of a thing. Nominalization meaning to change something into a noun. Specifically, when it comes to Korean, nominalization is referring to taking a Korean verb and changing that verb into a noun. Let's just take the verb to swim. What if we wanted to make this into a noun? Well, how would you use a noun? Well, you can use a noun like an object. You can use a noun to describe something. Like a noun would be this pen. Like you say, I like this pen. But how would you say swim? You can't have a swim. So how would you make swim a verb into a noun? What would that really mean? Swimming. So I like swimming. So now we have this noun, this thing, or swimming is difficult. But now you can describe the act of the thing that swimming is. So you can change a verb into a noun, which gives you a lot of interesting possibilities for how you can make your sentences. Unfortunately, in Korean, it's not as straightforward as just adding ing to the end of the word. It requires a couple extra steps. I like swimming. Remember that Korean is a subject, object, verb language. So the English sentence, I like swimming in Korean would be I swimming like. We need to be able to turn verbs into nouns in order to say things like this in Korean. The verb for to swim in Korean is 수영하다. This means just to swim. So in order to say I like swimming, you're gonna have to change this verb into a noun, swimming. The most common nominalization form is you take an action verb stem. So if you have the verb 하다, then you attach 기, 하기, 살다, to live. You remove the 다, 살기. That's all you have to do. It has to be an action verb because you cannot make a descriptive verb like to be pretty. You can't pretty something. It doesn't make any sense. So it's only for action verbs where you're doing something. So if you just want a really quick answer, how do I change a verb into a noun? Take the verb stem and attach 기. Let's make our previous sentence. I like to swim. 저는 수영하기. Now that we've changed this verb into a noun, and we're going to use it as an object with 좋아하다. So to like, 좋아해요. So we should mark it with the object marker as we learned in last week's lesson. 수영하기를 좋아해요. How would you use this verb here and change it to say, learning Korean is difficult? Yes, you can say 한국어를 배우기 어려워요. So remember, you probably would want to use the subject marker since the subject of the sentence is learning Korean. This section, 한국어를 배우기, has now become a noun. Since we're describing a noun, you'll want to mark it with the subject marker, as we learned last week in the large lesson. So I'm going to give another sentence. I want you guys to try to translate this. 서울에서 운전하기가 무서워요. 운전하다 means to drive. 무서워요 means scary. And 서울에서 means in Seoul. 운전하기, driving. The act of driving is scary. So it is scary to drive in Seoul, or driving in Seoul is scary. Next sentence is 수영하기에 좋은 날씨. This one is not a full sentence. It's simply a piece of a sentence. 좋은 means good. This is an adjective. 날씨 is weather. And then this 기에 means to doing, so to swimming. In English, we would say good weather for swimming. But in Korean, they say good weather to. This is the form that you're going to use whenever you're making a list, a to-do list. So today I want to work, so 일하기. I'm going to take a shower, so 샤워하기. And then I'm going to eat, 밥 먹기. You'll use this for like a title, like maybe a chapter in a book. Listening, 듣기. 쓰기, to write something, so writing. 읽기, reading. Most grammar forms that use nominalization in some way will use this form with 기. For example, 전에, which means before you do something. 기 때문에, because of. 기 위해, which means for. Now, there's actually a lot of grammar forms more. I'm just trying, these are some of the most common ones. This form and the regular key form, what's the difference? Well, there are some situations where you need to use one or the other. You'll want to use the key form with most grammar forms. This one is more of a slightly more formal. Not much, just a little bit. For this one, there's one more step. If the verb stem ends in this letter, 릴, you remove it. So if you have the verb 팔다, to sell something, so we remove the 릴, and now we get 파는 것. As I mentioned, there's not really difference between this one and 기, except for which grammar forms you need to use it in. if you just want to change a verb into a noun, you can use this form or key in the exact same way, and you're going to be correct 100% of the time. Except those specific cases that I told you, such as a to-do list, those grammar forms. 연습하는 것이 중요해요. Practicing is important. Remember, you can also just do it like this. 연습하기가 중요해요. The difference between 연습하는 것 and 연습하기 is that 연습하는 것 is slightly more formal. Slightly. But it's not much to worry about. It's not enough that you have to consider which one you should use. This is another really common thing that people ask me about is, what's the difference between 하는 거예요 and just saying 해요? This form, nominalization, can also be used in place of the regular present tense. However, it cannot be used when you're giving a command. I just have to make that clear. Both this form and the regular 요 form or any regular present tense form can be used the same way. You can say present tense with either or and it has the same overall meaning. There is a slight, very small difference between using present tense and this form. 는 것 gives the sentence a slightly stronger emphasis on the subject. And just using the regular present tense makes the verb slightly more emphasized. If you say 가는 거예요, you're saying I'm going, I am going. However, if you just say 가요, it's more like saying I'm going, as opposed to something else. Don't worry about it. You're not going to make a mistake by using this form or this form when you're trying to make the present tense. They both mean the same thing. Just the emphasis is slightly different. We're going to go on. There's one more nominalization form. And to make it, you take an action verb stem and you attach if it ends in a consonant, or you attach a mium, which is just this letter, if it ends in a vowel. For example, you can have 하다, you remove the 다, it ends in a vowel, so you attach 함. You can have 먹다, you remove the 다, it ends in a consonant, so you attach eating or doing. 살다, to live, 삶. This is completely different. Although this way also changes a verb into a noun, so we have 하다, to do, becomes 함, doing, 먹음, eating, 삶, living. It is not used that way. So we learned that you can say 수영하기 or 수영하는 것, right? And they're both okay, like swimming. I like swimming, or swimming is fun. Swimming is important. You cannot swap this to become 수영함. 수영함을 좋아해요. Completely grammatically awkward in Korean. So how do you even use it? When is it used? When you change a verb into this nominalization form, this noun is something that completely acts like its own noun. And what I mean by that is, if you were to open a dictionary, right, and you want to know how do I say teaching in Korean? 가르치다 is to teach. So you might think, oh, I like teaching. Teaching is fun. 가르치기, right? Teaching. Or 가르치는 것. But if you look in a dictionary for teaching, you're not going to find these. The dictionary assumes that you know how to say that in Korean. They assume you know how to make a regular verb into a noun. So I like doing something. I like teaching. If you look in a dictionary, you'll probably find this word, 가르침. The reason is, this doesn't just mean I like teaching or teaching is fun. This means teachings, as in a pastor from a church gave me some amazing teachings. Like, it's almost like the nouns that this nominalization form creates are completely separate, unique nouns, like a new concept. For that, you would not say 가르치기. 가르치기 actually means the act of teaching, or same with 는, 가르치는 것, the act of teaching. You wouldn't say that instructor has great the act of teachings, right? That wouldn't make any sense. You would say it's the thing of teaching or whatever, the actual teachings, what he is teaching. 가르침. An effect of being so different and so unique is, don't even memorize how to make this at all. Don't memorize how to make this form at all. Simply memorize these words individually, like as if they were regular vocabulary words. Another one, 춤, means a dance. It comes from 추다, which means to dance. 꿈 means a dream. You don't have to memorize the verb 꾸다, which means to dream. You just have to memorize 꿈, means a dream. 잠 is sleep. If you say, oh, I need sleep, you would say 잠. 기쁨 and 슬픔. 기쁨 means happiness, and 슬픔 means sadness. 도움 means help, like I need help. Maybe you know the word 느낌, which means a feeling. It comes from the verb 느끼다, which means to feel. There is one more place you might see these being used. In comments on a document. You're not writing a comment to somebody, but like say you have a paper and you want to write some comments here. Like, oh, this person's a really good person. You'd say 아주 좋음. They do the same conjugation as just a quick shorthand for writing comments. One more usage is sometimes you might see this, and that's childish slang, young teenagers. If you start speaking this or writing this in message boards to people or writing this in chat or talking to other people with this form, it's only slang. And it also sounds childish. So if you're a really young teenager and you're trying to be funny, you're trying to be cool next to your friends, you might want to use this. But if you're an adult or you're a regular teenager and you're talking like this to your Korean friends, it'll just only sound awkward. It'll sound kind of cringy. I hate it. I'm not doing it. 싫음, 안 함. No, that's the camera one. Yeah, okay. No, it's the little X on the right side. Yeah, that one.